All right. Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Tewksbury Conservation Commission of October 21st, 2020. This will be a virtual meeting due to the recent open meeting law policy set forth by the governor during the current state of emergency. The meeting will be held virtual. To participate as a resident or an interested party, the number is 781-565-8134. I'll repeat that through a number of times this evening. Okay, first thing on the agenda, I want to welcome our new member, Evan Walsh. Welcome aboard. Second on the agenda is approval of minutes. I don't have any minutes. Stefania, do we have any minutes in our packet?
No minutes.
Okay. Now I'm going to turn this thing down. I'm going deaf. Okay. All right, we have no minutes, so we can skip to item A. It's a continued public hearing from September 2nd, 2020. Request for determination of aquability. Clara Kuti, Kielis Commuter Service, Director of N Railroad Rights of Way. Is there anyone here for that?
Yes, good evening. This is Clara Kuti. For the record, I'm Director of Environmental Compliance for Keolis.
Okay.
I'm here to present the RDA. Matt Donovan is here to present maps and discuss the maps with you. This is an RDA to renew the VMP for 2021 through 2025. It expires on December 31st. Within your jurisdictions, we have 3/4 of a mile that span the New Hampshire Main Line and the Western Route Main Line. And 95% of the line is limited spray zone at 1 year interval, and less than 5% is a spray zone. So with that being said, in years past, we have come before you to present to you the wetland determination of boundaries for the VMP. And this year, Matt's going to present to you, I believe he might request to share his screen. And then I'll be available for questions.
Okay. Is Matt going to do a presentation or?
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Matt Donovan. So I know I went over the process of how the vegetation management works in the meeting last time, but I can give a brief overview of how that work happened. So basically, the 5-year vegetation management plan is currently under review by the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources. The plan is designed to control the vegetation to keep the railroad and public safe along the right of way. Regulations control what the sensitive areas and protected areas are to keep the spray away from, and those restrictions can be found in CMR 11.04 as well as Section 8 of the Vegetation Management Plan. We do send your commission, the Board of Health, the Board of Selectmen, and the Department of Agricultural Resources the yearly operational plan every year via certified mail. And I just realized I don't think you are seeing my screen right now.
We are not.
All right, let me just. Yeah, so this is the website that I had pulled up for you last time. So one thing I should have mentioned to start is your commission had requested zoomed in maps of the delineated maps, and these are them. I have provided them to Stefania a couple weeks ago, and it's way more clear now to see the railroad right-of-way and the wetlands that are adjacent to the right-of-way and why the delineations are the way they are. So the vegetation management plan includes an integrated vegetation management approach where chemical application as well as physical and mechanical methods are used to combat the vegetation. Best management practices are used throughout the plan in an effort to reduce the chemical application, which has been a main objective of Keolis and required under CMR 11. The maps you can see here are the same maps that were presented to you in 2016. As you can see, there are areas that are depicted as yellow, limited and no spray zones based on the blue and the yellow colors. So the railroad tracks themselves are marked with the same color coded system that you see here in the same locations. How the work happens: there's a spray truck who performs the application, who's licensed and certified to do the work in Massachusetts. They're accompanied by an environmental monitor who's a direct employee of Keolis's environmental team. They'll always be in the truck instructing and working with the operator as necessary, and they'll always have these maps on hand while the application is being performed. Most importantly, the yellow zones will never receive any form of herbicide outside of the track structure itself, which is federally mandated to keep free of vegetation with no other alternatives. In the blue zones, these zones are treated, the track in these zones will always be sprayed every year. Outside of the track structure, it's really only sprayed on an as-needed basis, and if the conditions call for it. And they'll never be sprayed more so than the interval allows. More of an effort is taken into physical and chemical controls in these areas, the blue and the yellow areas, due to the proximity to the sensitive areas. The chemicals that are used for the application are all come from the Mass DAR approved sensitive area material list. So I think that's a good overview of how the work happens in the maps. If you have any questions, we can definitely answer them.
Okay, Stefania, issues.
So I had issued that summary dated October 13th. I guess I would say, does the commission have any questions or issues? So I would leave it to you.
Okay. All right. Board members, any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, it sounds like they know what they're doing, of course.
Mr. Ronan?
Yeah, so we brought this up before, but the application cover letter requests one thing, but the form is requesting another. That hasn't been fixed to submit the correct form.
Right, so we're submitting the RDA as a request to confirm the wetland boundaries are correct, as well as to allow the work to proceed in accordance with the Mass DAR approved vegetation management plan, which is why we're seeking a -2 or 5 determination.
But your application is for one, not the both areas?
Well, the application also has a project description in the RDA.
So what's the project description in the RDA?
Is vegetation management in accordance with the vegetation management plan approved by Mass DAR, which includes integrative vegetation management approach, combining chemical and mechanical methods to control the vegetation along the right of way.
Okay. Is that clear, Mr. Ronan?
It just seems very odd that you are requesting a negative determination. You're requesting two different things, and I don't understand why they aren't, the
Separate.
same form. Yeah.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Mr. Ronan, the application that you have before you has the request for determination of applicability for the wetlands determination. The project description and the work description aligned to that determination is for the integrated vegetation management approach, which includes both chemical and mechanical. In the application cover letter, which is a blanket for all for 103 plus communities in Massachusetts, it's very much guided to explain what the BMP process is and also what you are tasked to review. So there is no misguidance in the sense that it, you know, if there is any confusion on your end, I can try and clarify that. But it's pretty straightforward. The determination of applicability is for the wetland boundaries for the work that's going to take place under the BMP.
I understand. Go ahead, Mr. Roan.
I just don't, to me, it is very confusing. In your cover letter, you say, please consider the following negative determination on WPA Form 2. But then you submitted Form 1. So like, I get my confusion. I don't see why that's straightforward.
When you say we submit Form 1, what are you referring to? The 1B wetland determination?
Right below your cover letter, it's WPA Form 1 request for determination of applicability.
Oh, then that must be a typo. It should be Form 2.
So if I could clarify quickly. So the confusion is that on your actual Wetlands Protection Act form for the request for determination, you are just requesting the commission to determine if the wetland boundaries are accurate. In the
Correct.
cover letter, you also request the negative determination to say if the work is exempt or if the work is in a wetland area but is not altering that area, so can proceed. So I think the confusion is that in the future, your WPA form should specify every request that you're requesting, not just the boundaries. So they all should be on that official form.
Right.
So I think just one last clarification, because it still was confusing when you explained it. You are requesting that we make a positive determination 2A or 2B, and a negative determination 2 or a negative determination 5.
Well, we're not requesting a positive determination, but if I may
for the wetland
clarify,
boundaries,
if I may clarify.
If I could just finish. So for wetland boundaries, you have to have a positive determination. So that's how you make the determination for the wetland.
No, you don't need to actually.
Yes,
but
you do. That's how you determine that.
You can
So, no,
issue a negative, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I feel like I need to clarify this. If you issue only a positive determination, we are obliged to submit an NOI. Even if you're saying that you're approving the wetland determinations. Now, if you issue a negative, you can issue a negative determination, either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6, that approves the wetland boundaries as permitted under the VMP by the state. So to clarify, we are not including the work because the towns don't permit the work. The work is permitted by the state of Massachusetts. So that's why the work description is very detailed, so that it explains what the VMP is.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. So actually, if I could clarify again, a positive determination 2A confirms that the wetland boundaries are accurate. So if you're looking to say that the wetland boundaries are accurate, the commission would have to issue a positive determination. Now they can also issue a negative determination like requested, but they have to make the positive for the wetland boundaries. So if it was inaccurate, it would be a positive determination 2B. But if they determine that the wetland boundaries are accurate, it's a 2A.
Okay. I won't.
Okay, I have one question too. These were submitted together, correct? The one for the western route and the one for the New Hampshire route?
The two maps, yes.
They were submitted together on one application, is that correct?
Correct, because it's within the town, the same town.
So why wouldn't there be two applications? What, do it for instance, what had, if the western route we didn't agree with the boundaries, but on the New Hampshire route, we did agree with the boundaries, then we would have to not find it a negative.
Correct.
So that's my question. How come there's not two applications?
Because if I were to do different applications for how many railroad lines I have throughout the state, I would have over 500 applications. So we go by town and by town jurisdiction, and we apply the railroad tracks and jurisdictions within your town in one application. So it's really important that when you review these maps, you feel confident and comfortable that the markings reflect the jurisdictional wetlands and resource areas within your town.
Okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, the Western Route main line, that is in the national wetlands, correct? We have no, I'm just going by the color-coded map.
It's very similar in the Mass GIS map as well.
Okay, so if I'm looking at maybe it's too small for me to see, but.
Can you zoom in, Matt, on the map?
Okay, so going by the national wetlands, that entire line is within the wetland boundaries, correct?
Right. You have yellow zone, no spray zone, and limited 1 year intervals. Correct.
Okay. But if it's all in the same wetland area, why is one blue and one yellow? I know it's limited in its no spray zone. It looks like to me it should be all no spray zone.
Right. So I think the wetland comes right up to the boundary of the tracks, and there's I would assume there's open water within 10 feet of the yellow zones, whereas it's not in the northern part of that section.
Okay. Now getting back to the other map, is that the same thing with the yellow and the blue? There's water there?
Yes.
I just don't see it depicted on the map. That's why I'm asking.
Well, it's either that it's a conveyance structure where either an intermittent or a stream crosses under. It might be a culvert in that area. If you scroll up the other yellow area below, Matt. No more yellow areas. So it's just that. And I think that's a conveyance structure under the tracks.
So we're determining the wetlands based on the national wetland, the color code, correct? We don't know how many feet the railroad tracks are from that wetland.
In order for these lines to be limited spray zone, it's because you're beyond the 100 feet. But if you would like, Matt, if you can go to the VMP and zoom in on the page where the determinations for setbacks are, and that might help clarify, Mr. Chairman, your questions. So I don't have it memorized by heart what the setbacks are.
So right here is CMR 11, where it says no herbicide shall be applied on or within 10 feet of wetland or water over a wetland. And then it says between 10 and 100 feet, a minimum of 12 months between each application, which indicates a blue zone. So these weren't only done by GIS maps; they were done in the field as well.
Okay.
Which is why
I just think that we should have had that information before. All right, that's all the questions I have. Mr. Walsh, any questions?
Matt, you said these are the same maps that you presented in 2016. Were there any updates made to these? Or is this literally the same map that you presented before?
No, these are the same that got approved, end up getting approved by your commission.
I believe the last time you presented, Stefania said that there was additional wetlands that weren't depicted. Did those get added?
Right. So they did get added. These two little wetlands here got added, but as far as delineations go, it didn't affect any of the limited or no spray zones. The blue and the yellow colors were the same. However, we did add these two wetlands.
But those two new wetlands, shouldn't that be a no spray zone then, if it's that close, since they weren't existing before?
No, it would need to be within. It would need to be within 10 feet.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, Stefania, anything additional?
Sorry, babe. I might be good.
No, I just would like to add that I think in the future this process needs to be a lot different. I think that it's very confusing, and I think there just needs to be changes to the process.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If anybody wants to call in on the matter, I just had that phone number here. It's 781-565-8134. Any callers, Jason? Then we'll hang on for a minute, just in case you do get someone.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Soon.
Yeah. While we're waiting for additional callers, I just wanted to ask another question about that yellow spot on the lines, if I may.
Pause it for Jeopardy.
Go ahead.
So on the Tewksbury, the Lowell Borica, map, there's that tiny spot of yellow, and that's because of a culvert that goes underneath, or we're not positive what it is, but likely a culvert that goes underneath the road. If there's water right there, why is that not depicted as a wetland, around that area?
Well, the yellow actually determines that there, as a conveyance structure, it might be unifying those two wetlands you see along the sides of the tracks. Unless if it's an intermittent stream that goes right adjacent to the tracks, we would not change the determination of the setbacks in that area because it's already a no spray zone area.
All right, I think I misunderstood that the yellow does not automatically mean that there's water right there. It's just one of the possibilities out of.
Correct.
All right, I understand.
It's most likely that surface water or other protected areas are within the yellow markings. In your case, what we're protecting is the conveyance structure that either unifies those two wetlands adjacent to the tracks. And it may be that during the course of a year, it may not be wet. It may be that it's just a conveyance structure for surface runoff between one side and the other. That's why you don't see a tributary line or a stream line or anything like that. But for us to be able to protect that area, we highlight all conveyance structures as yellow.
So in other words, you just highlight in this as it could be a culvert, could not be a culvert, so we don't know if it's a stream.
We wouldn't know if it's a stream, if it would actually have a stream depicted on the layer that was used for delineating the map. So usually Mass GIS and National Wetlands layers would include either an intermittent stream or a perennial stream. Does that answer your question?
Well, it answers the question, but I would like to know what it is. You tell me it could be a intermittent stream, could be a stream, could be a culvert, and we have
It's
nothing.
most likely a conveyance structure. A conveyance structure is a culvert under the tracks.
So we ran into the same thing in 2016, where we went out into the field to look at this, I believe, with your commission. We did confirm that all of these boundaries were correct with how they were delineated.
And you went out with Stefania?
I don't know if it was with
Kyle.
Stefania, if she was there at the time.
It's not here last
No,
time.
she was not.
Okay, but that was in 2016. So you can definitely tell me it's a culvert.
It is a conveyance structure.
A culvert.
Matt, do we have any documented information of the
It would
site visit?
it would take me a couple seconds to find out, but I do have a letter of this line from peer consultants who assisted us in this in 2016, saying that it might say here what it is.
The minutes from 2016, and it says there is also a small culvert crossing as the project heads to Lowell that has the appropriate setbacks with the sensitive areas. So I'm assuming it's a culvert.
Okay. All right, so that answers that question. And that's all the questions I have. And I'm assuming that the yellow on the other side is also a culvert on the other map, or is that just within that ponding area?
That would most likely have water alongside the tracks within the proximity of the tracks where it would be considered a no spray zone.
So it's most likely or is?
In that case, it is. There may be culverts within that distance, but there is standing water along the side of the track in this area.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions. Jason, do we have any callers?
No callers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board? All right, I guess it's coming back to me. All right, Stefania, what do we need to do?
So there needs to be a determination about the wetland boundaries.
And that's going to be a positive determination, correct?
Yes. So if you agree that the wetland boundaries are accurate, that is a positive determination 2A. And that I can read that if people want me to read what that determination says.
Okay, why don't you read it?
That is, the boundary delineations of the following resource areas described on the referenced plans are confirmed as accurate. Therefore, the resource area boundaries confirmed in this determination are binding as to all decisions rendered pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act and its regulations regarding such boundaries for as long as this determination is valid. And if you do not agree that they're accurate, it would be a positive determination 2B. And that pretty much says the boundaries of resource areas listed below are not confirmed by this determination.
Okay. So I'm going to entertain a motion for a positive determination for 2A. Is that correct, Stefania?
And then there also needs to be a determination. So they're requesting a negative determination 2 or 5. So a negative determination 2 is that the work described in the request is within an area subject to protection under the Act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent. And then number 5 is that it meets the exemption that they have specified.
Okay. So I'm going to entertain a motion for positive determination on 2A. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Mr. McMullen, how do you vote? Oh, Mr. McMullen's not here. Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. So now we're going to need a negative determination for number 2 or number 5, correct?
Correct.
Am I right? Okay. So it's either one or the other.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm just going to do the 1 because I don't agree with 5. Because that says it's electric, gas, water, sewer, telephone. It doesn't say anything about a train. Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion for negative determination number 2. You have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Have a second. Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, we're all set. We don't need anything else, right, Stefania? Hello?
I don't think so. I'll leave it to the consultants.
Okay, we already did that. We forgot to close the public hearing. Should we do that now? That's a little late, but
Yeah, we should close it.
yeah, okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right, next on the agenda is item B, request for certificate of compliance, Massachusetts Electric Company, New England Power, 257 Old Boston Road, DEP number 3051049. Can anybody here for that?
Can you hear me? This is yeah, Kellen Kontwitz is on as well.
Okay, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Kellen, go ahead.
Do you need the address of the
Just state your name and state your name and 257 Old Boston Road, whatever.
Okay, my apologies. My name is Kellen Kontwitz from BHB in 257 Old Boston Road in Tewksbury.
Okay, the floor is yours.
This is Andrew Cole, National Grid Environmental Licensing and Permitting Group.
Okay. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Great. Yeah, I can begin, and then if Andrew has anything to add, he can feel free. But yeah, we're looking for a certificate of compliance for the Old Boston Road project. If you remember, this started about 2 years ago, and it's the construction of a substation on Power Company Road off of Old Boston Road in Tewksbury. And for part of the closeout, we've sent the commission 3 documents. One is the COC package that includes the order conditions and also the COC request. We sent a wetland replication monitoring report for the next year, and or for this the second year of monitoring, which exhibited nearly all wetland plant survival, and indicators of hydrology to support a wetland. And we also confirmed the square footage of the replication area that was noted in the permits. And then the final document we submitted was the annual stormwater management report, which was per condition 18 of the order of conditions. And that noted this stability of the stormwater features and vegetation around the substation, and that the substation would be entered into National Grid's maintenance category, more so to make sure that it's taken care of when following this potential certificate of compliance. And
Okay.
that's it for me, Andrew, unless you have anything to add.
All right, Stefania, any issues?
No
can just add
issues.
one.
Oh, yeah, Andy, you go.
Sorry, I was just getting off mute. Apologies. We did have a site meeting there with Stefania and Bill, third-party reviewer at the site, and noted areas that still need a little bit of revegetation. Stefania may be speaking to that next, but outside of that, as Kellen has mentioned, the substation would go into a cycle of stormwater management and review, and those would continue to be submitted to the town. Other than that, nothing to add. So turn it over to Stefania. I think she was going to add.
Yeah, so I'll just go off of that. Commission members, you have a letter from Billmanuel. So he did monitor this project throughout the construction. So I had him review it one last time before we made a determination on this certificate of compliance request. And he just mentioned one area while we were out there. There wasn't too much growth on some of the swales, but I mean, there wasn't too many concerns from any of us. And like they mentioned, they're going to be monitoring it to make sure that it does well for the next couple of years. So I don't have any concerns.
Okay. Board members, any concerns?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
I just would like a bit of a clarification. Are these two separate areas, the new substation and the wetland replication area?
So the replication area was it was built within a National Grid right away. It's just slightly further down Power Company Road. As part of the project, there's also distribution work that they trenched into the ground, so it's adjacent to one of the trenched areas. It's all in the general vicinity.
Yeah. All right. So it's one project and one application that you guys submitted, but two distinct, they're literally separated areas in this one piece of land, I guess.
Correct. Yeah, I know in the original order of conditions that was issued for the entire project site, which included the substation site, the replication site, and some of the street work on Power Company Road and Old Boston Road.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Walsh, any questions? Mr. Walsh, you still there?
Sorry, I was muted. No questions.
Okay. And the chair has no questions. All right. I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the request for certificate of compliance for Massachusetts Electric, New England Power Company, 257 Old Boston Road, DEP number 3051049. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Next on the agenda is item C. Tewksbury Village Condominium LLC, request for certificate of compliance. Poland Ave and Foster Lane, map 24, lot 25, DEP number 305-943. Is there anyone here for that?
I don't see them here. I don't know if they planned on coming. They didn't reach out to me and say they weren't. But I will say that the DPW has not finished their review of the as-built, and I think that they found some issues during their review. So I know they had requested that we hold off on making a decision or releasing any bonds on this project.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I would recommend we continue anyways.
Okay.
They're the next three items.
The next three items. Well,
Yeah.
I think we still have to do them each individually.
Yeah.
All right. Since no one's here for this, I'm going to ask for a motion to continue the request for certificate of compliance. Tewksbury Village Condominium LLC, Poland Ave and Foster Lane, map 24, lot 25, DEP 305943. Can I have a motion to continue?
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item is item E, request for certificate of compliance, Tewksbury Village Condominium, LLC, 15 Robbie Terrace. No, actually, that's not it. The next item on the agenda is bond release request, Tewksbury Village Condominium, LLC, Poland Ave and Foster Lane, map 24, lot 25, DEP number 305943. They're not here, so I'll entertain a motion to continue.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Item E, request for certificate of compliance. Tewksbury Village Condominium LLC, 15 Robbie Terrace Way, map 24, lot 78, DEP number 3051074. And this is the same thing, and I'm still assuming that no one's here for this. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ian, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, next on the agenda is enforcement order update. William Con and Axis, 20 Corbett Street, map 103, lot 27. Okay, Stefania, the floor is yours.
Okay. So for the members that were here over the summer, I think the last time we saw this was in June. So this was an enforcement order that was issued for some work done within the buffer zone in the wetlands. And so since it was first issued, they've been doing a lot of restoration on the site. And when we last reviewed this in the summer, there still needed to be some work with the wetlands regrowth and restoration of the site. And so I went last week and he did some of more plantings and added some seed mix, and I provided some pictures for you to take a look at and see if you're satisfied with the restoration.
It's coming along. Mr. Sheehan, any comments?
No, no comment.
Mr. Ronan?
No comments.
Mr. Walsh, well, you weren't here for the original one, but if you have a comment, you're more than welcome to state it.
No comments.
So you got rid of the tree stump that was there on the first page, right? It looks like it's missing. If that's the same picture. Maybe it's not. You might have been just out of frame, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So he is going to continue working on the
So it's up to
the enforcement order.
the commission. So if they are satisfied with the restoration, then you could determine to return it to compliance. If you want to him to continue and for us to review it again, we can continue it.
Yeah, I think we can continue it. It still looks like this. It's coming along, that's for sure.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't think that is a major rush to get it back in compliance. What do you
Do you
think?
have?
This spring?
Yeah, we can do that, like late spring to give it some time to bounce
Yeah,
back after winter.
I would do that because, you know, even though we were lacking a lot of rain this year too, so
Right.
that might give it a chance to come in a little bit better. All right. Anything else, Stefania?
That's all I have.
Hey, do we have any old business?
No.
Any new business? Administrator reports. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Can I have a second? Okay, Mr. Ronan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh, how do you vote?
Aye.
And again, Mr. Walsh, welcome. And chair votes aye as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.